Hello and welcome to a new episode of Convert on Shopify. My name is Pancho Mendiola, and today I had an awesome conversation with Nils Koppelmann. So he heads this very cool agency for CRO, A/B testing, experimentation, and all the works. It's called 3Tech. So it's three with a number and then tech, TECH.de. I'm gonna leave all the information in our episodes. But we had an awesome conversation about why it's so important to plan your growth. So let's just jump right into it. Hey Niels, thanks again a lot for your time. I really appreciate it. I know that you're a busy guy. You were just in a some sort of summit, right? You were traveling.
Actually, it was just a couple of kilometers away from our office, but I was at Data Natives, I think, when we had our call last week. It was a really cool conference, specifically catered towards data science, and there was also one or two talks about A/B testing, which is super interesting. Also to see a perspective from that you don't usually see, because we're usually working uh, with companies that either are just starting their experimentation program or that have uh, like nothing yet, and
Yeah.
at least in the beginnings. And so super interesting perspective, and was super cool to talk to a number of people from also bigger companies.
Awesome. And so you have been doing this for how many years now?
Man, I think in the realm of optimization, I would say forever. It feels like, but like specifically like A/B testing and CRO, I think for about 3.5 years now, and
Okay.
especially with the current process or with the process that we have. Yeah.
So you have been doing this for a while now, and you still go to summits, and you keep learning, and you keep just like grinding at it. And I think that's one of the first of all attitudes, and I think culture also in where I have been moving most, which is in the Shopify realm. We lack that, and I would love to. I don't want to just like to throw a bucket of knowledge like right on top of everyone, because I know that that can also be overwhelming, and I'm sure you have your experience with that. But that's what we want to accomplish, to start bringing in a little bit of that knowledge and that culture to what we do in Shopify. I know that we are in Shopify. We're good doing a lot of things. I mean, we have seen great successes with Shopify stores, but I think we got to a point where we could do better, and that's why you're here. And thank you, thank you again. So that's what I want to talk about with you. Okay,
Sure.
we're coming from this grow or nothing culture when we where we all always only see maybe the final number, this revenue, and we just say, okay, we want to increase it. I don't know why. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I just know that we want to do it, and we tend to go the easy, and by easy I don't mean that it's super easy, but we tend to go the easy way, just increasing our ad spend, or doing more of what we are already doing, and I think we need to get better at it, right? And that's the whole idea. So can you comment a little bit about this difference between just like plain growth and planned growth? You said something like uh, program. You mentioned program, and I think that's what we're lacking. Understanding that this whole thing is a program, and even like growth, we need to take that into consideration. So can you comment a little bit about that?
Sure. And you were mentioning already a couple of topics, right? Like just doing what we've already been doing, increasing ad spend, doing more of what we've already been doing. That, and I think here is like one of the key points we think is or was working. And what's lacking here is an understanding and also like a documented and a validated uh, aspect or like data point. Like, did the things that we're currently doing, do they really work, or is it just us thinking that they did, or like seeing a correlation between what we did and like increase in revenue? And I think when we're talking about planned growth, what is needed is like exactly this understanding and having a process in form of a program that is backing this understanding and the like concurrent generation of of yeah, these data points to understand like in this is basically testing something. Like let's test, for example, like displaying product information in a better way on a product detail page, and then find out if this actually has an impact on, say, the add to cart rate, or later the revenue, etc. But without actually tracking this and without really testing, there is really no way of yeah, going forward and understanding whether or not these kind of changes had any impact on the business goals that are relevant to us.
Yeah, I agree. So we I would also like to talk about this. I think we can call it like pill based marketing psychology, that we tend to think that or we at least we are hopeful that the solution to our problems is just like one thing and one thing only, and this is very different from the data-based and data science approach, right?
Yeah, so we were talking about it a bit earlier. I think especially in the Shopify community, but also in other let's say marketplace driven ecosystems where you can just easily add functionality, say, to your online store, or you can just easily inject like some kind of snippet that will uh, that is promised to help you just increase a certain metric, say click-through rate or average order value or conversion rate or whatever. I think especially in these kind of ecosystems, the expectation is that oftentimes that there is this magic pill, the magic bullet that will drive growth for you. But what this is lacking is like, and I'm iterating again on this, is like the understanding of what actually happened, and if it happened, like if that actually increased or changed anything in user behavior, that would then later lead to an increase in a certain metric you're measuring. And again, without this understanding, this magic pill is basically a magic pill, but not really solving the problem for you and making this change reproducible in other areas of your business, for example.
Okay, so we basically get marketed, because that's a reality. We get so Shopify is a marketplace of applications and plugins and snippets and how you like you mentioned, and we as merchants we get marketed this one pill solve it all solution to increase your conversion, and we know that's not true. I mean, it can work, but normally it's a series of things, like you mentioned, a program. It's a series of things or actions that you take so you can improve the customer journey and how the customer receives information. And we were talking about this example about like giving them a straight discount right at the beginning, because our assumption is, I don't know, maybe that we need to motivate them right at the beginning, and that's kind of what these apps are telling us. Like, hey, you should add this so your customers can get a discount right at the beginning. But we actually don't know. We don't know if they don't care still for that discount at that specific moment, and maybe not even in their first session. They don't care about a discount. They want more information, but we don't know. There's so we how do we turn away from assumptions? Like, what's a correct path from turning from assumptions to doing or to making up a correct decision to change something?
So first, I think there probably is not a correct decision, but there is a more or less valid way of getting to better decisions. And this is going from just, as you said, assumptions to basically evidence. And what does evidence mean? It's basically um, yeah, it's evidence that something worked. Like you can validate and verify that a change you're making is valid. And what is required for that is basically a hypothesis. So, and this could oftentimes be an assumption, but that should be backed by research. So, for example, user studies, scientific research that has been done before. And oftentimes, what's really crucial is like talking with your customers, like understanding like what is it really they need, they want. For example, if you just mentioned it, a discount or like price is not the most important thing to the customer, then why like keep on iterating on getting a better price than you're already giving them, when really, for example, they need more product information, or like more motivation to actually make the purchase, or like something like that. But in order to find that out, you need to do research, you need to talk to customers. Sometimes you can even like look at session recordings, like basically stand behind a set of customers and see how they're interacting with your store, to understand where there are where there is friction points on your store, where they might not understand what's the next step, or there you might be able to identify at which step in the customer journey, or user journey for that matter, um, they are looking for information. And then you can create, for example, a hypothesis stating, hey, if we create a section on, say, the product detail page, um, giving the customer relevant information about the product, then we assume that the conversion rate increases because, for example, a certain behavior pattern. Um, and then later, if you're then testing this change, because it went high up in your priority or in your prioritization, then you can verify, okay, did this change actually impact the behavior change we wanted to have, or not? And then you can actually go from, okay, I just assume this is going to impact behavior or not, to we found out that this impacted behavior. And this is like the general kind of like test to learn approach. Um, and yeah, as opposed to just tests, or in a way also, as opposed to test to win approach, because you're trying to learn something about customer behavior, um, and then go from there and iterate, right?
All right. Yeah. So in that case, your the conversion rate that you will be measuring, because I think also that's important, right? That if we create an hypothesis and we're measuring the wrong thing, that's maybe we will have like distorted results. So in this case, I assume that this if we add more information to our product page, what we can measure is the add to cart, because
Yep.
if we measure like all the way down towards the final conversion, maybe we won't get as solid as results. So it's as important. You would say it's as important to create this hypothesis, but also link it to exactly what we are measuring.
Yeah. So you should like definitely like think about what is it that I can measure, and I'll make it a bit more extreme. For example, you on your collection page, you're testing something. Say you're adding um, descriptive label for certain kind of products, because you understand, okay, say labeling a product as vegan is vitally important for customers, because they're looking to buy products that um, that fit their general diet. But then really later down the line, you're just measuring or using the overall purchase conversion rate as a measure to validate this change. It kind of doesn't make sense. But what you should really be looking in this case, for example, would be, okay, are people clicking more on on the products that we have now labeled as being vegan, for example, and do they actually add them to the cart? And this probably has an impact on purchase conversion rate, but the test would probably take too long to validate this change when really you only want to look at the steps before, like the micro conversion rates.
Okay. Uh, and all right, so this has a lot of components to it, right? So you need to understand and like how to create a valid hypothesis. You need to understand what to measure, and for that, I think you should have a general understanding of like the key metrics. And so with this in, I know that there's a lot of resources out there as well. I mean, you don't have to start from scratch and just experiment your way through with just a blank slate. There's tons of resources with like for example in Convert we have a lot of information and like guidelines on how to get started, but still can be a little bit overwhelming, right? So when do you think it's better to uh, to go at it like as an entrepreneur, to go at it and just like start for yourself and build something like in-house, or do this in-house, and when is it better to go and hire an expert, or at least get some guidance from an expert? In I know yet that you deal with a lot of clients, and I would love to have this insight.
Sure. Actually, I'll give an example because usually I would say this depends on company size. But I recently had an example where in a company, actually way bigger than companies we usually work with, like with hundreds of employees, there was basically one person like running experiments, and their job was to one um, like fight for the fact that they're running experiments. So like grow the experimentation program, like build the hypotheses, do the research, and all these kind of things. And it's basically that person would be in the same role as you described with the entrepreneur that has a Shopify shop doing, like say, a couple million a year in revenue. Um, I think in this case, it would be like it would make sense to hire an expert at least for guidance, so the person is not all alone. Because if you if you think about it, there's like in CRO and experimentation, or like A/B testing for that matter, there is so many disciplines you need to excel at in order to really use the power of A/B testing, for example, to your benefit. And if it's just you doing all that alone, it's just really hard. But then, like getting an expert or even a consultant to help you, one, like get the right mindset, and then also really put this into practice. And then the next step, maybe hire a team to and hire the right team to build upon this experimentation program you want to start in your company is crucial. What I find, especially in the beginning, it can really help to externalize this. So, for example, to hire an agency to help you, like especially with Shopify shops, they're used to dealing with agencies, so it's nothing new. Um, but to start externalizing this, getting the first like the flow of experiments going, seeing that it actually works if the agency has the proper process to do that, and then step by step internalizing the knowledge and the um, yeah, and also the operational part of it. And then, if the company is big enough, hiring the proper team that can then uh, take the principles of experimentation and apply them all throughout the company and really grow experimentation culture, basically. But this is something I usually see later down the line when the company one understands and is really behind the idea of experimentation, but also has the budget to back this kind of program.
Of course. Yeah, because even one minor, let's say, change or experiment can take a lot of different disciplines. For example, hey, we should My hypothesis is that we have to change our banner. Okay, so just that action by itself is someone had to find out or create that hypothesis. Then someone had to, I don't know, like do the best possible copywriting, which like optimization copywriting is also like a discipline in itself. And then you have to do, the design of the actual banner. And then yeah, and then someone has to go. I mean, with Shopify is super easy, but it takes a lot of people, or a lot of, let's say, disciplines. And I think that's where the Shopify entrepreneur starts to go thin into these areas. So you can just do it a little bit. You are not great at everything. So that's where you start lacking. And I think, yeah, for me, I agree with you. Like, first, you should say, find out with a consultant. Like that would be our first step. So have someone like look at your site, tell you some like this, or just like go and take some courses. What do you think that is the best way to do it? I know it's not a best way, but
So
yeah.
no, I think the point is, like, first you should, and consultants or agencies can be a good way of finding out, but there's also a lot of resources out there to check that yourself. But even understand that, or if you can actually run experiments before you go ahead and just like build the experimentation program or even do it all yourself. You should be able to see if it actually makes sense to run uh, experiments in your company. And in this case specifically, I mean, A/B tests. Experiments generally you can run at any scale, but specifically with A/B testing, and where you want to, in the end, basically also get like results that can that are statistically significant, and that can actually validate your hypothesis. You need a certain kind of traffic. Um, and so this is a thing, like the prerequisites for working with an agency or doing it in-house. Like, it doesn't matter, but this needs to be set. And then um, like in my opinion, shop owners or like CEOs of say a Shopify store or like an e-commerce company, they should probably not be the ones doing all those things. There is much better things for them to do, as opposed to being very operational, and in the process and doing everything themselves. But what they should understand is that experimentation can actually enable them to make better and more data-driven decisions, and that this is helping them grow. And to kickstart this, I personally would recommend, yeah, working with an agency to kickstart things, and or have the people in the marketing team, if there is the capabilities in house, then trying to get them to take the courses, or further build knowledge and some expertise there to build this for you.
All right. Sounds like a plan then. All
Sounds like a
right.
plan, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, myself, this is so I've been doing Shopify for at least 10 years now. And I've only gotten to a certain, point where uh in revenue. I mean, yeah, I like you said, there's always someone to blame. I used to blame it on my market. So I'm in Mexico, and we did have some issues earlier with we don't have enough people buying online, and that was a reality. Now it's not a reality anymore. The market has grown substantially. So now I don't have that excuse anymore for myself. So but I haven't been able to grow past that. And this is one of the reasons that we decided to create this podcast, because I am the target. Like, I'm that person that is trying to find its way, and I'm that Shopify merchant that is trying to find its way through the to improve things and become better at it, and not just like throw money at ads. And that's why I ask all these questions. Honestly, I hope they help the people listening as well. But they sure help me.
And I think that's but this is super interesting actually, because the same way like we're talking now and like we had this conversation and to find out what the actual struggle say of Shopify shop owners and the industry in general is, the same way Shopify owners and marketing teams that are attached should talk to their customers, to their target audience, to then understand and ask the right questions to understand what is important for them. How can they deliver? How can they build a better product? And this means one, the actual, I guess, physical product the company is selling, plus two, how can they create a better experience around the product? And this includes the Shopify store, the store, or the general purchase experience people are having. And this is, I think, exactly where experimentation, if you're big enough, hooks in.
Yeah. Yeah, so far my way to do it is that when I got to a certain amount, like 1 million a year, I sold it. That's
Oh,
that has been
I
my
thought you'd say I bought a car, but
no. No, we sold the company, and it was like, yeah, I think this is as far as I can go with my current knowledge, and I've been doing this for a while. But yeah, I think to get to the next level, definitely we need experimentation. We need a experimentation culture, and that's what I'm trying to build with this podcast. So thanks for helping with that.
sure, I'm very much happy to.
Awesome. Well, have a great one, and thanks for this conversation, Nils.
Thanks. You too. Have a good day, man.
You too. There you have it. Good news is that Nils also agreed to come back to this podcast. We are planning a series of conversations, amazing conversations with him. And don't forget that also we have a tons of resources in Convert.com. You'll find articles, you'll find blogs, you'll find a lot of information about the world of CRO and A/B testing. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.